Mheshimiwa Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, Rais wa Muungano wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Excellencies President, Rais mstaafu Jakaya Kikwete, ndugu zangu wa Tanzania, na wasalimu hamjamboni, wengine shikamoo. Madam President, I bring you greetings from your brother and counterpart, President William Ruto of Kenya, whom I'm representing here today. And I come here to do a very simple task. I've been asked to discuss Kenya's experience with large-scale energy infrastructure projects, the lessons we've learned, and I want to be as practical as I can because, as I have said again, mine is to give the perspective that perhaps we could share, even as I listen to the experiences of the other countries from what we've just listened this morning. Your Excellency, energy is key to our industrialization. Also, we need reliable, affordable energy, which is also accessible to as many of our citizens as possible. We therefore need a backbone a source of energy and enough infrastructure to convey that energy to reach people's homes and to power industries. I don't want to repeat the statistics that have been given about the potential, the energy potential in our continent, including potential on natural gas. We have adequate, significant stocks of natural gas spread across our continent from Nigeria, Senegal, Algeria, Mozambique, Tanzania, and many more other countries, I believe. But the challenge we have is how to provide major energy infrastructure projects, which normally take a lot of time, require a lot of technical expertise, and also are costly to be able to industrialize. Many scholars and policymakers have cited the fact that Africa's arable land, mineral wealth, including natural gas, a good population, as drivers of Africa's future. The only thing I want to add, even as I go into energy projects, is that Africa needs to build confidence in itself. Africans, we must learn to have confidence in our continent and in our capability to do what others have been able to do. Therefore, Your Excellency, for us, we have picked a few things along the way. The first one is government commitment and political leadership. It's very important for our various countries for us to have government commitment and political leadership, which provides strategic direction, policy consistency, investor confidence, and continuity across political cycles. The biggest threat today to Africa's development is policy disruption, which is an unintended consequence of democracy, the movement from one administration to another, which is a good thing, because democracy is a good thing. But we must find ways of insulating our development agenda from democratic transitions so that we can have continuity. And that is the discussion we're having in Kenya, generally. We have heard what President Samia has done in Tanzania, what President Ruto is doing in Kenya, and I'm sure many of our countries, our leaders are doing their best. But how do we assure that what the projects and the programs and the policy framework in place today will be in place 20, 30, 40, 50 years, so that as we do these things, we are looking at taking Africa from where we are today into the first world, because it is possible. Others have done it, Africa can do it. But if we are going to have disruptions every time there's an election, every time there is a succession from one administration to another, then that is going to be a big bottleneck. So consistency, continuity, and stability is a very key enabler of these wonderful objectives around infrastructure. As we build a democratic Africa, we must build a wealthy Africa at the same time. And the two outcomes are not mutually exclusive. Number two, robust policy and regulatory framework, which provides predictability for investors, lenders, and developers, while ensuring environmental, technical, and consumer protection issues. That is a big lesson that we need to carry along, even as we develop these big transnational and long-term infrastructure projects, including energy projects. Number three, we need to develop technical capacity at the local level in our countries. This will reduce dependence on foreign expertise. It will lower project costs and build long-term national ownership of our projects. Number four, we need long-term integrated planning. As I have said in my opening sentence, the need for long-term integrated planning is to ensure investments are aligned to future demand, resource availability, and least cost development pathways. The next lesson that we have picked, number 6, is the need for innovative financing and risk mitigation mechanisms. The case has been made for mobilizing domestic resources, both in our countries, but also regionally. And I'm glad to see the president of the ADB group here and all the other institutions that are underwriting Africa's future in the financial and resource space. So we need to have innovative ways of mobilizing resources, both nationally and regionally, to be able to reduce investor risks, lower cost of capital, and enable implementation of capital-intensive projects. What we are doing in Kenya, we've just put in place the National Infrastructure Fund, where we are mobilizing resources from the stock market by selling off part of the stakes that government owns in government-owned entities, mobilizing and using that capital to crowd in private sector financing and bring on board financial institutions, pension funds, and everybody else, including the regional financial institutions, which are represented here today. So we must think innovatively on where to get money, because the traditional sources of capital and finance are changing for various reasons, which I don't want to delve into today. Number 7, and it is linked to number 6, is private sector participation, involving the private sector so that we can mobilize capital, but also technology, and create operational efficiency while reducing pressure on our public resources that we have by collecting taxes from citizens. The next lesson we have learned is around community engagement and benefit sharing. Lesson number 8. There is need to have the people of Africa move with us. It is not enough to build roads and railways and ports and harbors and gas pipelines. It's important for us to carry the people of Africa for whom we work to go with us and to reason and travel with us the journey. The need for community engagement and benefit sharing secures the social license to operate the projects that we want to do. It reduces delay. Some of the projects have been delayed because of our inability to manage the social, economic, environmental, and other issues around some of our projects. You end up with delays, you end up with court cases, litigation, conflicts, and this affects project sustainability. We have also learned about effective contract and project management to prevent cost overruns, delays, disputes, while at the same time ensuring quality project delivery. The next lesson, number 10, is environmental and social safeguards, I think which is already I've alluded to ensure sustainability and improve access to financing, as well as protecting communities and biological diversity. We have also learned about the power of regional trade and cross-border infrastructure, which has been alluded to by some of the previous speakers. And we need to organize ourselves. In this space around LNG, for example, the pipeline from Mozambique, Tanzania, I see no reason why it should not extend to Kenya, up the coast, and it can go to the other directions as well, so that we can share not only we can share in the economies of scale and be able to leverage on our various strengths. Your Excellency, therefore, the matter before us is how can Africa build energy infrastructure, including LNG infrastructure, at a scale and pace which is commensurate with our state of development today and where we want to go tomorrow. And therefore, we have a dual responsibility of making sure that we provide access to reliable, affordable energy, while at the same time having low emissions of, in terms of protection. It is therefore possible to utilize the significant resources that Africa has, including LNG resources, if we collaborate with one another. Just to give an example of the power evacuation program that we are running between Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, which has a capacity of evacuating 2,000 megawatts, but at the moment is evacuating 800 megawatts of power from Ethiopia, 700 megawatts into Kenya, 100 megawatts into Tanzania. And I think those are some of the areas which we need to work on and expand, because the capacity is there and the physical infrastructure is already in place. Tanzania has led by example in this space, but we need more infrastructural projects for gasification, regasification, power plants, and pipelines, so that we can take this matter to the next level. Your Excellency, once more, let me summarize by address in simple terms, because sometimes we complicate what we want to say with a lot of English. The future of this subject matter and the future of our continent lies on how we handle 5 things. Number 1, the people. I have talked about the need for us to go along with the people. The story of Africa's development must be written together collectively. And that's why it is important that the discourse we're having around development must be sensitized to communities, to the citizens, to make sure that we are all aligned. We must, for example, let me give this example. Many African countries are struggling with the politics of identity, especially subnational identities. Luckily, Tanzania largely does not fall under that category. Kenya does. And if you look at our constitutional order in many of our countries, there is need for identity. There is need for democratic space and expression and identity. But there is also, increasingly going forward, the need for African leadership to pursue not just the politics of identity. In fact, we should overcome the politics of subnational identity and promote more the politics of interests and wealth creation. We must work towards making our people rich, wealthy, prosperous across the board, even as we build democratic entities, build on our subnational identities. But that's just one example. But the point I'm saying is that we must carry the people along, young people, women, rural people, urban poor, and everyone. Number 2, technology. The mega projects that we want to do, technology is at the center. And we cannot continue relying on foreign technology or foreign sources of technology. The issue of technology transfer is central in this matrix. Number 3 is the issue of partnerships, especially between the public and private sector, to provide resources, not just financial resources, but also blend the human resources from public and private sector to give us the outcomes we require. Number 4, it is governance. Governance. I think part of it has been spoken to. This area about energy, resources, and natural resources require better governance so that we can be able to attract investments, build the confidence of investors, and secure the wealth of our people. Finally, it is the issue of political stability. We can build the best roads, the best airports, the best railways, the best seaports, but without long-term political stability, all that can be washed away. And therefore, we need to invest in strategic security, not just for our countries, but for our region as a whole. Because any instability anywhere in Africa is instability in our own countries. We have seen how the 1980s, 90s have looked like. And with the developing geopolitical changes, we must be able to invest in long-term political stability and strategic security for our countries, for our region, so that we can underwrite the future of our continent, because all these infrastructure projects, if our continent, our countries are not secure, can be washed away overnight. Thank you. and it's a pleasure for me to address you. Thank you very much.